My name is James Robson. I'm a co-founding partner of Glass Robson here in Atlanta. I've been in practice for just under 15 years, and of that, the majority has been spent representing plaintiffs and their families in wrongful death cases and serious catastrophic injury cases. I was hired by Jennifer to pursue a wrongful death case for the death of her husband, who was tragically killed in a tractor-trailer collision on March of 2019. That was the day of Jennifer's birthday. She had seen her husband earlier that day, and as he's on his way home that afternoon, a tractor-trailer pulled out in front of him. Unfortunately, the tractor-trailer was blocking all southbound lanes of travel. Because of the truck driver's negligence, Dwayne had nowhere to go and collided and had an underride of the tractor trailer. Some of the initial challenges in the case that we faced were the lack of a client who was able to advocate for himself. Dwayne, unfortunately, was killed in this wreck, and so his side of the story wasn't something that we'd be able to tell through Dwayne. We had to rely heavily on experts and animations to help tell Dwayne's story. And so we felt that only having static photographs or imagery versus an animation left a lot of gaps in information for the jury to resolve on its own. From the defense's standpoint, they saw this as a defensible case and were willing to resolve it, but for something less than the full value of the case. Frankly, we thought that this was a policy limits case based on what was represented to us about the amount of insurance. So from our standpoint, we knew that this was going to be a case that we had to dig in based on the initial tenor, and so we needed DK Global's assistance to show through an animation just how much time and sight distance this truck driver had to make a better choice. And so what we were able to do was establish the scene from a bird's eye view and then narrow down into the collision scene itself, and then we would show from the truck driver's point of view just how clear a view of the intersection that he had, and yet his deliberate choice to pull out in front of Dwayne despite Dwayne having the right of way. Interestingly, then we were able to juxtapose the animation with photographs from the scene itself and superimpose those onto the animation so that the jury could really see beyond just the animation itself, but what the ultimate outcome was for Dwayne, who tragically died in this collision. This was a case that we used a focus group for. And upon seeing the animation that DK Global had prepared for us in collaboration with our experts, the mood and the opinions of every single person in that focus group did a 180. It significantly increased the value of our case, such that once they had an opportunity to review the animation that DK Global put together with the help of our accident reconstruction expert as to the timing and the distances, they unquestionably accepted our demand for the full policy limits in this case. After a lot of work, we were fortunate to resolve the case for the $5 million of available policy limits with the company's insurance. So we're very pleased with that. Obviously, working with DK Global and the animation and all the materials that we were able to do in presenting our case and illustrating what this case was about probably saved us 4 to 5 months worth of work. A lot of times I think there's a misconception that animations are just so expensive and just really can only be used by people who have tens of millions of dollars in case value. And I would say that if you have a good case where there's a dispute as to liability or an issue with the damages, an animation can tell a story that still imagery, still photographs simply cannot do. They just do not do the justice that an animation does. So if there is some reluctance to consider doing an animation, I would just say, if it's a case that you're willing to take to trial, then you really should think long and hard about having an animation that can do something that still imagery just simply cannot do.